The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
The Thunder make history by blowing out the Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast.
The Thunder just trounced the Phoenix Suns. I mean, it was an embarrassing beatdown, and the Suns were dejected from opening tip, frankly, whenever Cason Wallace just takes candy from a baby after the opening tip to start the game up 2-0 with a pick six as he gets 4 steals in a matter of minutes. Like, this was special from Oklahoma setting. They looked rattled, the Suns did, with no Devin Booker, of course. And when you looked at this game, this was the recipe for Oklahoma City. You know, even with Devin Booker, the Suns had 18 turnovers last time out, and they really struggled to score. But their defense kept them in it. They're especially rebounding, kept them in it, you know, winning the rebounding margin like 57-31 last time out. In this game, it was much different. I mean, the Thunder went 11-2 to open the game on the 11-2 run, and the Suns just couldn't do anything. They just could not find a groove offensively, and it remained as such throughout the entire game. I mean, in the non-Shea minutes, in the second quarter, the Suns really made their one and only run of the game. They were able to get it within, from down more than 20 to within about 13, and yet SGA comes back in and settles the ship and quickly fights off this run from the Suns. But SGA led the team on a 20-6 run to end the half, and that was all she wrote. And that continued into what ended up being the second half that boasted the Thunder's largest lead of the season. There were some fireworks. I mean, the most fireworks from this game was Grayson Allen clotheslining Chet Holmgren and getting ejected because he didn't want to be there any longer to witness this blowout. And that really summarized what was a very frustrating night for the Suns. You had that flagrant 2. You had Dylan Brooks for no reason fouling Lou Dort on a breakaway in transition for an and 1 to kind of make matters worse for Phoenix. J-Dub said after the game that this kind of flagrant foul from Grayson Allen really ignited the team, and you could see that with how J-Dub reacted to it. I mean, they immediately come together. They've got to be separated, and then J-Dub, as he's going back to the bench, is just trying to fire up the crowd as much as possible. But again, the Thunder, in a season in which they've done more blowing out than simply winning, they get their largest lead of the season in this game, getting up by 53 points. That's the largest lead ever in an NBA Cup game. And in this game, there was no lead change. I believe it was tied 2-2 at one point. But other than that, it went wire to wire for OKC to beat down these Phoenix Suns. And this Suns defense has been really good all season long. And yes, missing Booker is a problem. The turnovers were a problem as well, to not let Phoenix really get settled into a half-court defense, I should say, the entire game. But what the Thunder did to this Suns defense is special. And the Thunder curbed their one real glaring issue from the last time against one another, which was the rebounding battle. The Thunder win the glass 48-43. That was an area that the Suns dominated, and it helped Phoenix make up for their 18 turnovers. And then not only did they lose the glass this time instead of dominate it, Phoenix had 20 turnovers tonight. And it just made matters worse. But the Thunder shot video game numbers tonight. The defenses that the Suns try to throw at them, they try to throw zone, they try to trap and blitz off screens. They tried to do everything under the sun, and nothing worked. And it resulted in OKC putting up video game numbers. I mean, the Thunder shot 59% from the floor, 59% from the floor, 55% from 3, and 92% at the free throw line. Like 59, 55, 92 is just not a regular night in the office, especially against the defense that has been flirting with the top 10 unit all season long. Meanwhile, the Suns, I mean, they were just dreadful. They couldn't rebound, couldn't stop turning the ball over, couldn't play defense, and also couldn't shoot. They shot 39% from the floor, 32% from three, and 81% at the free throw line. OKC wins points in the paint 50-42, a number that really should have been much wider, of course, but Chet only had to play in 2.5 quarters because Chet was taking everything away in the paint. We'll talk about that more coming up. The fact that OKC still won second chance points says a lot about both teams, considering OKC won second chance points 9-6. The Thunder didn't miss very often. They shot 59% from the floor, and yet the Suns, who missed quite often, shooting 39% from the floor, just could not get second chance opportunities. OKC did lose the fast break column 20-18. That's a bit misleading with the blowout minutes, but the Thunder did capitalize on 34 points off of those 20 Suns turnovers. OKC wins in a jaw-dropping 138-89 win to punch their ticket to Vegas. So now the Thunder await the winner of the Lakers and Spurs contest that's going on right now. They'll play that winner in Vegas on Saturday. That'll be the 82nd game that's missing from the schedule right now. So those two will play Saturday. The winner of that will, of course, play Tuesday in the NBA Cup Championship against the winner of the Magic and Knicks. So we'll see how this all plays out moving forward. We'll have the whole week to preview the NBA Cup and get you ready for what all Vegas has in store. But this win is also the 16th straight win of the year for OKC. That is a new franchise record. Think about how many great teams that this Thunder organization has had, how many great players this Thunder organization has had, and yet they have the franchise best winning streak. The 24-1 start for the Thunder ties Golden State back whenever the Warriors rattled off 73 wins in a season for the best start in NBA history through 25 games. The Warriors obviously got there in a different way. They won 24 straight and then lost the 25th game. The Thunder took their loss a bit earlier against Portland on the second night of a back-to-back, but ultimately 24-1 is 24-1. And it was really impressive to see the Thunder from the word go play discipline, play with intensity, play with aggression, and that continued for the full 48 minutes. Even down to the bench mob, even down to the two-way guys. Every member of the Thunder scored tonight. Like these guys were just cold-blooded killers against the Suns team that 5 minutes into the game wanted to be anywhere else but Oklahoma City.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
This is the Spurs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs.
Big win, big win, big win. Let's talk about it. I'm ready, Casey.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, and there is a lot to talk about because the first half was something that we have seen kind of become commonplace over the past few weeks with this Spurs team. A really good first half, really strong offensively, really efficient, and another one that they had a double-digit lead in. Fourth straight game that they've taken that into the halftime break. This one by 13 points. They were on top. Hit over 50% of their threes in the first half. 29 bench points. Keldon had 13 in the first quarter alone. You're looking great. But like we just mentioned, the previous few nights, the third quarters, and really, well, more than the previous two nights, it was just really bad the previous two nights. The third quarters have been a thing, and teams have gotten back into the game. So how do the Spurs, a team that's been plagued by this for weeks now, with this third quarter coming out of the break woes, they opened the third quarter on a quick 10-2 spurt to blow that advantage up, pushing 20, each of which Stephon Castle either scored and assisted on in some capacity. And as a result, the advantage is 17 going into the fourth quarter of play. Fourth quarter, they go up by 23. And now you're waiting for that Laker push to happen. They had a couple little flurries of life in the third, but the Spurs, to their credit, kicked them back down. But now
Right.
the real push happens. Marcus Smart hit 8 threes in this game tonight.
Yeah.
He hit his 8th, gets them back within 11. Austin Reeves, the ensuing play, gets an and one, but the Spurs, some big-time buckets down the stretch. Ultimately, they close things out on the back of Stephon Castle, 30 points, 10 boards, 6 assists. De'Aaron Fox, 20 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists as well. Surviving 35, 5, and 8 from Luka, 19, 15, and 8 from LeBron. They do the job, and they walk away with a 132-119 victory, and one that they obviously needed to get, and just impressive on a whole bunch of fronts. That speaks volumes about where this team is at as they continue to make that push and put people on notice.
Yeah, well, it talks about the depth of what it is that this roster has. And, we've been able to talk about different guys, different nights. But, tonight it was everybody. And just a great team win as far, as that goes. But, man, Coach Mitch was great in the strings that he pulled. And just the team, like you said, in LA, a bunch of stars. LA has their stars. Some of their guys were stepping up, and San Antonio was able to counterpunch that and get a big victory in a big-time environment tonight.
Yeah, let's go back to the biggest counterpunch, because that's going to be our turning point tonight.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so I mentioned that Austin Reeves and one. It cut it to a 122-114 game with 3:50 left to go. And how does San Antonio respond? The ensuing possession, Stephon Castle comes right down the floor. They're on a beautiful set, a drive and kick situation. Fox catch and shoot, knocks down the triple. They go back up by 11, just outside of 3 minutes left. And that's kind of the last little bit of life before a couple moments after JJ pulls the plug, takes the starters out, and the Spurs get into accept the fact that they're moving on. I thought tonight was the first time not the first time, the best, I guess, we've seen so far of the Castle and De'Aaron Fox thing, in my opinion, because it felt like there was not as much, and there still is an element of it of I get mine, you get yours, and just go back and forth type deal. That's not going away overnight, but it felt like there was the most fluidity that they've had, the most chemistry that they've had, not as much stagnation. I mean, the team as a whole, they put up a $132 tonight. And I look at that play again. Yeah, I think it was a turning point in the game, but I also think that was kind of like a microcosm, so to speak, as maybe things are shifting for the better with the two of them. And it certainly appeared that way tonight.
Well, it's funny because, every time Castle was scoring, I thought about you and Jeff and who y'all picked on the tandem. And I was just smiling to myself because, we saw this at the beginning of the year, before he got hurt, where he was going with his basketball game. What a night to have, the night that he had, and on the stage that it was. And it just shows you where he's going to be, come 3-4 years from now. And like I said, I'd seen this, and I'm not taking anything away from Dylan Harper or anything like that. But, when you talk about, some of the plays he made, especially at the start of that third quarter, when the Spurs have been having all those problems. And I don't know, we jumped on, but De'Aaron Fox was talking about some of the things that they've been talking about in the locker room that third quarter. And you can see the Spurs are tired of hearing that. They're tired of hearing about it on the streets, and they're tired of hearing about it from Mitch. And they answered tonight, Casey.
Yeah, I mentioned Dylan Harper. He goes for 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Julian Champagny and Harrison Barnes each putting up 16. Keldon Johnson, 17 and 8. Collectively, they end up putting up 48 bench points, hit 50% of their shots, 45% from 3. Not a whole lot to really single out. Negative. It felt like we were just kind of reverting back to, it's our job to be diplomatic and find something to nitpick. Maybe not as strong as nitpick, so to speak, but there's some kind of flaw to acknowledge and things they can fix. And yeah, there are. But if you're anything like me, you were just waiting for that rally to really go for the worst. Because it's the NBA, because we hang out now. I quote you all the time when every team makes a run. So
every team.
So now I look smarter whenever I say that because I hang out with you.
Yeah.
So you knew that was coming from the Lakers. That wasn't
Oh
out of
yeah.
the norm. But I just love the fact that the counter punches kept happening, and it was from everywhere. And they were doing it in every single type of way, whether it was a Fox isolation to get a bucket, whether if it was a stop leading to a transition score, a Harper layup. You saw it all the way. I mean, LeBron dunked on Cornette into the next solar system, whatever you want to call it. And
Right.
so everyone at the Staples Center is going nuts. And what does Cornette do? The Spurs, they get the stop, they get the bucket. He comes back, he gets a block, and it leads to another score. And instead of an
Yep.
8-point game at the break, it's 12. So things like that, they add up. And tonight you really saw it.
Yeah.
You really saw it, that everybody found a way to do it. And I know it's cliche because we've been saying this, I don't know, for however long we've been saying it,
Right.
that it takes a little bit of everyone without Victor, but that keeps being the case. And tonight was just a fantastic job of that, of just being there, being ready for what the Lakers were going to hit you with, and shutting the door, kicking them while they're down. And they did.
All right, so there's a couple of things there. So what we try and do, which is why we love doing this, is when the Spurs they've given us pretty a lot of ammo when they lose, right? What we do is we try and give the side of why it is that they lose and why it is they have these negative things. You
Yeah.
talk about tonight, and this is something. Luke Cornette, like I said, I'm going to go back to De'Aaron Fox's interview because of the shirt that he had on. Everybody's got the little symbol now. Those shirts were in the locker room already. I don't know if they got passed out because of the win or because they got dunked on by one of the top 5 players of all time. I'm not sure. But those T-shirts were already there. And it's funny that everybody, is putting them on and things like that. But and my last point about that note is Luke Cornette one day is going to tell his grandkids about LeBron James and being dunked on. They're not going to believe him, but there's videotape everywhere, so they'll believe him, Casey. But to your point, everything that the Lakers, and it started in that second quarter. And the thing that I love is they have the coaches mic'd up. And JJ, obviously, you could hear him talking when they would go to him. But for a while there, and somebody's going to get a talking to because you could hear Mitch. Like when the play was going on, you could hear Coach Mitch, and he was saying, don't fall for their stuff. Don't get sucked into what they're doing. And what that means is Luka's nonsense, pulling the ball through, drawing fouls, LeBron flopping and flipping all over the court. The Lakers started that run in the second quarter. They got into the bonus early, got some free throws to chip into that lead. But to your point, Spurs withstood all of that, played their game, came out and stayed the course and got the win.
Man, the Amazon Prime, I know it's a million different streams. I get it. Like
Yes.
I'm in the same way. It's a pain, but the Prime broadcasts have been fantastic this year.
Yes.
Between the mics next to the bench, between the studio crew, everything about the Amazon Prime experience so far has been tremendous.
And I told you the stuff that I pay attention to, it gives you details and things. Like
Right.
I told you, I look at those assistant coaches and reactions on certain players and things like that. And Casey, I tell you, it helps me out tremendously.
Anything that helps you out helps me out. So I'm glad it's helping you out.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Dereck Lively out for the season for the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavs report Dereck Lively is out for the season with a season-ending injury. We'll talk about if that changes the Mavs' plans right now. We'll talk about if that changes the Mavericks' viewpoint on him going forward, what they do with him going forward. There's all kinds of things and all kinds of different little things that this affects going forward. And so let's start with this. The Mavs announced that center Dereck Lively will undergo season-ending surgery on his right foot. The surgery will be performed by Dr. James Calder at the Fortis Clinic in London. Hey, going all the way overseas. Slightly, could go join it. Lively is expected to make a full recovery and be available for the start of training camp. Further updates will be provided as appropriate. Then Matt Riccardi, interim general manager, had a quote about him in this press release. Dereck has handled every challenge of this season with professionalism and resilience. While this is a setback, we're confident in his long-term future and will support him through his recovery. I will as well. But I don't think that you can look at Dereck Lively and say, all right, this is a guy that is part of the Dallas Mavericks, like future for sure, where you pencil him in and go, you write him in Sharpie and are like, all right, this is a spot for sure. We know Cooper Flagg will be playing with this center, Dereck Lively, for the rest of his career. And I wish that wasn't the case. But you start looking at the things that Dereck Lively has gone through, and you're like, all right, there's a bunch of freak injuries. His rookie year, he played 55 games, ended up playing, all 21 games in the NBA finals playoff run. And you're like, wow, this is a guy that can play in an NBA finals. A young center, a rookie center that can play in an NBA finals on defense is just such a rare thing for a team to be able to find out their very first year. The Mavs tanked the end of the 2023 season in order to get a draft pick. They needed a center very badly. You go back to even 2022, that run, they needed a center in that run. They were starting Dwight Powell, our guy, for 2 minutes.
All these changes, and I still got my dog Dwight Powell.
And then Maxi Kleber would come in, and then that's the way the Mavericks kind of got by with that team. So then they spent another year where you're like, all right, I don't think Christian Wood is the answer. They tried JaVale McGee. They've tried so many things, and then Dereck Lively comes along in that draft and was the absolute perfect answer to what the Mavericks needed. Then he plays 55 games in that first regular season. A lot of freak injuries, different things like that. I still remember he broke his nose. He had the one where Scoot Henderson undercut him. He had all those injuries. And then last year, he plays just 36 games. And you're like, all right, well then, now what? He misses a ton of games in the middle of the season with this foot injury that we'll talk about here in a second. And then this season, he's only going to play 7 games. And so you look at those game logs and you go, all right, well, I don't know that that's something that you can trust, that is absolutely going to give you a blue chip player that you can project to be part of this Mavs future going forward. I think if you get an incredible career out of Dereck Lively, and if he's healthy, you will get one. But if you do get an incredible career out of Dereck Lively, it's additive. And it's not something that I think that the Mavericks can bet on anymore. And I think that is something that is sad, because this guy, Dereck Lively, is an awesome person. He is an awesome individual. He is an incredible, I think, leader. He was talking on defense and being a leader of the defense in his rookie season. We saw that from the beginning. He's a person that's been through a lot. And I don't want to put it past him that he'll come back from this. He's still very young, right? He is going to turn 22 years old in February 12th. And he's going to go through this whole thing. And he's going to have a lot of runway in order to get back from this injury. They say that, they say in the press release that he's going to be ready for training camp next year. What is that, like September? And so you start to look at that and you go, all right, well, he's got the rest of December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and then as much time in September. So probably like 9 months he's got in order to get this surgery, recover from surgery, strengthen the foot back up for this to not happen again, and to honestly fix some of the mistakes of the past. Because one of the reasons why this is such a big issue is because of the diagnosed issue that the Mavericks struggled with last year. One of the reasons why Lively missed more games than he should have last year is because of this whole thing. Go back to the Tim McMahon story on ESPN. Dereck Lively was supposed to be a franchise cornerstone, was listed as questionable on January 20th because of a right ankle sprain after sitting out the previous 2 games under this guy Belton, who was the trainer before this. Lively went through an intense return to play workout before sitting out that night again. The plan was for Lively to play at home 2 nights later against the Minnesota Timberwolves, but this other guy, Billsborough, another strength coach, had concerns, prompting him to send Lively for a CT scan, revealing a stress fracture in his right ankle that sidelined the center for the next 2.5 months. A team source at the time said somebody should be fired for that. It was a symptom of a much larger problem, multiple team sources say. And this is the whole issue with the Mavs training staff last year, that Nico Harrison brought in this new crew, pushed away Casey Smith, brought in his own crew, And they messed this situation up with Dereck Lively, and they may have messed up this guy's career. And I think that is the saddest thing in all of this, is that it was maybe something that was, maybe it was going to happen no matter what. But if he didn't get misdiagnosed like that, go through a big workout and have this whole ramp up situation where he was going to come back, even though he had a fracture in his ankle, if that hadn't happened, then maybe this is an avoidable injury. And maybe we're talking about Dereck Lively playing a lot of the games this season. But oof, it's hard to look at that story from last year and then look at the story this year with him having to have season-ending surgery and go, you know what? They're unrelated. Like, I don't know if I can look at those two things and go, yeah, there's like, freak incident here, freak incident there. It's another reminder of the issues that were not just the Luka trade from the past regime. I'll put it like that. We're talking about Dereck Lively's injury, and this is it's just a bummer, man. Can I, just for a second, if Anthony Davis gets traded, we're going to see, what, 4 or 5 games of Lively and Anthony Davis? And that to me is just one of those things where you go, man, it's just, some of this is just not fair to Mavs fans. Like, especially those of you that have defended this move and have talked about over and over again, keep Anthony Davis. You got to keep him because we got to see what this team is going to look like going forward. You're just not going to see it. Between Lively now with his injury, Anthony Davis's own injuries, Kyrie's injuries, even like Daniel Gafford is now all of a sudden getting hurt. Daniel Gafford has played a lot of games in his career, and he just can't seem to stay on the court. This ankle injury has just continued to hurt him. He's played 15 games so far this year, 57 last year. In the season when the Mavs went to the finals, he played 74 total games. Before that, 78, 72 before that. And then the first 2 years, you don't know if it was because he was sitting or because he got sat or whatever. But man, all of a sudden, this Mavericks team, just the injuries just keep piling up for these bigs, and we're just probably never going to see that big combination ever play together again. Right? With Dereck Lively being out, Anthony Davis trade rumors, they just keep heating up. You guys keep a lot of you keep complaining that we're talking about Anthony Davis rumors. There's smoke. There's smoke for a reason on those. And so, all right, now with Dereck Lively, does this change the Mavs' plans right now? I don't think so. Isaac and I we've talked about Dereck Lively being out for the whole season for weeks. We had heard a little bit here and there. We couldn't 100% confirm it, but we had a good understanding that he was going to be out for the season from the things that we'd heard from people in the team. And so we were like, all right, well, everything that we say now, let's operate with the Dereck Lively is going to be out for the season. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't been super big on, all right, let's trade Daniel Gafford right now, because if you trade Lively or you trade AD, Lively's out for the season, and you trade Gafford away, next season, what are you walking into with center? That's a thing that the Mavs can't do next season because they don't have their pick and they just can't be bad next season. And the Mavs center was supposed to be the big strength of this team. And now if you go into it as a weakness again next year, you're playing small ball again. It's just a whole mess. And so I've been super huge on trading Gafford ever since this story has come out and since the Anthony Davis rumors have started heating up. Does it change the plans of trading Anthony Davis? I don't think so, because the problems with Anthony Davis are not necessarily connected to Lively or even on the court, really. The problems with Anthony Davis, we talked about a lot last night, but the problems with that whole situation is he's going to demand this big contract extension. And if you don't give him this contract extension, what kind of Anthony Davis are you getting? Or are you getting Anthony Davis at all? Or does he sit out and pull Jimmy Butler and all of a sudden tank his trade stock even more than what it is right now? And then you get a worse return. So I don't want to pay Anthony Davis $76 million when he's 37 off of that extension. And because that's when Flag is going to be coming into his extension after his rookie year. Like, we're talking a long way into the future. We're talking about being in this Anthony Davis business for a long time if you keep him. Because if you keep him, you give him that extension. That's the way the world works in this NBA. And will he become more tradable as this contract goes on? I don't think so. Then you add to the fact that the Mavericks will be in the second apron next season unless they shed some money. And I don't know that you want to trade any of your main guys because of one of the things that I just said. You want to keep Kyrie. You maybe have to keep Gafford now. You don't want to. You can't trade PJ at the end of the. You don't want to trade PJ at the end of the season. He can't be traded during the season, but the end of the season. Clay is one that you could trade and think about. I mean, you're not trading Max. You're not. I don't know if you want to trade Najee. They may. And so you look at this team, you're like, all right, well, what are the options? What are the options to make moves? And Anthony Davis is a big option because he's making like $58 million this year. There's just a lot of different reasons. But to answer the question, I don't think that Dereck Lively's injury changes any of the plans that the Mavs have. Maybe it changes their plans of how good they thought they could be this year. But I was kind of already down that road where I go, I don't think that this team is good enough to be as good as I thought that they could be. All the talk during the offseason was, well, Lively's coming in healthy. Anthony Davis has overcome this retina surgery, but he's going to be coming in healthy. And, you got Cooper Flag and Kyrie will come back at a certain time. And now none of those things are seemingly happening. Anthony Davis missed time for this calf injury. Lively's going to only play 7 games this season. Gafford's even been out. The team has not been whole. And that's one of the big reasons the Nico's vision is never going to play out, because these guys are never going to play on the floor together. Tough news for a great person in Dereck Lively, and you hope that he makes a full recovery. I'm rooting for him. Like, I could say one thing and say I expect this to happen, but I'm gonna hope with all my heart that he comes back and plays, a full future in the NBA, because I love watching that guy play. And I hope for Mrs. Cohen's class that he comes back and makes a full recovery, because I can't imagine this is a fun day for them either.